Blockchain development has changed a lot, especially since I first became a blockchain developer. This is a brand new technology that's constantly evolving and changing. And because of that, the developer tools, best practices, and, security is also changing. So maybe you've seen this. Maybe you've tried to do a tutorial that doesn't work anymore, or maybe you've tried to build something with blockchain tools that also don't work. This can be really frustrating, but I want to make this video to help with that frustration, and also, I'll be staying on top of the changes so that you can keep your skills current. So before we get into that, if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory from Dapp University, and on this channel, I teach you how to become a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then click the like button down below and click subscribe. And if you want to take that next step towards mastering blockchain, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. So blockchain has changed quite a bit. And, I want to go over some of these changes with you in case you've been following maybe some of my other tutorials, or you've been, building your own applications and you've been running into these problems. I want to show you how to address them and fix them and update your projects for 2020 and beyond. Okay. So I'm going to take a few of these examples in context. Let's look at one of my older tutorials. So if you look at the Ethereum Dapp tutorial, this is where I show you how to build a voting application with the blockchain. So this is one of my more popular tutorials, but I'll be 100% honest, it's starting to show its age a little bit. So let's talk about how things have changed and how you might implement some of these changes into your own apps. So the first thing is how you actually connect your application to the blockchain. So this is with the Web3.js library and how it detects MetaMask. So, whenever you use a blockchain application, your browser doesn't connect to it by default. You usually need some kind of Ethereum wallet, in this case, MetaMask, in order to talk to the blockchain, okay? So your blockchain application needs to connect to Ethereum with MetaMask, all right? So I'll show you how we do that in that old tutorial. If you look at the source directory, and we look at the JavaScript directory. Let's see here, app.js. Here's the place where we load the connection to MetaMask, all right? Right here, okay? So, this looks really familiar because it comes straight from the Web3 documentation. This is an older version of Web3, but this is actually a legacy convention for detecting MetaMask in your browser, and it may cause a really common problem where you aren't able to actually fetch the accounts out of your MetaMask wallet in your application. I get emails about this all the time. People say my account is returning an empty array. It's not actually, returning your accounts. So I'm gonna show you how to fix that. You can replace this code or this code with this code. So I'll put a link to this down in the description below. This is a blog post put out by MetaMask themselves on how to correctly detect for an Ethereum, browser or a Ethereum wallet like MetaMask. So it shows you the code to use. Basically, you check for MetaMask a few different ways. You can look for window.ethereum or window.web3, and you can adapt this code to fit your own projects. So you can see this in some of my more recent projects like ETH Swap, for example. I just finished this tutorial on how to build a cryptocurrency exchange. Here's the correct code that actually loads the Web3 connection like you're supposed to, all right? Next, what I want to mention are changes to the Web3 library in general. All right, so, we talked about how MetaMask is sort of the gateway for your browser to the blockchain. It turns your browser into a blockchain browser. Well, the Web3.js library basically turns your application into a blockchain application. So it's the other side of the equation. And, that's what we're seeing here in action. You're seeing, Web3 instantiating a connection to the blockchain inside your app. So the Web3.js API underwent a major version change to version 1.0 within the past at least 2 years, ever since, these original tutorials came out. And I want to show you how to address some of those types of things. So we'll talk about the counts, for example. How you even fetch accounts has, slightly changed. If you look at some of the original documentation, you used to be able to just, get accounts easily like this, web3.accounts. Web3.eth.accounts, but now you must do it asynchronously like this. And so here's the documentation for it. Let's see here, Web3 ETH get accounts. All right, so this is how you return all of the accounts from Web3. So there's lots of things that change if you switch to Web3 version 1.0. And honestly, the fastest way to fix this is to, check out the error in Google and find the correct function inside the documentation. So a lot of times, you'll see that the function you're calling doesn't exist. And that's either because the name has changed or it's moved the namespace. So what do I mean by that? Well, sometimes the name just changed completely, or the way to call it, like, this get accounts, for example. that existed in the last API, but a lot of people were doing it like this, which disappeared. So that would be an example. But some things also have moved namespaces. For example, big number, you used to be able to just call big number directly on your Web3 instance, but now it's moved to the big number namespace. So there's lots of examples like that. And that's something to look for if you can't find, or at least your application can't find a function or a utility or something like that used to exist in Web3 whenever you migrated over to version 1.0. All right, the next thing I want to talk about are changes to the Solidity programming language. And this is arguably, the biggest change because it's the main programming language for writing, Ethereum smart contracts. So if you go look at the election tutorial, for example, let's go back here. Let's find election. Open this up and let's look at the smart contracts, okay? So what I'm going to do is actually copy the smart contract out of this tutorial and put it inside of Remix and try to change the Solidity programming language version and show you how to actually update this for your own purposes. All right, so let's just copy this, all right, and then go to Remix. So this is an online Solidity IDE for blockchain development. What we'll do is create a new smart contract here called election.sol, and I'll paste this inside of here. And we're going to take this up 2 versions, okay? So, this was written in 0.4.2. So we're going to say version 0.6.0, all right? That's a big version change. So I'm going to put a caret here, and let's go to the compiler, and we're going to see that it's probably going to fail quite a bit, all right? So we can see all kinds of errors here. So the first one that I want to mention, this is a really common error because people ask me about this all the time. This says that the constructor is wrong here. So it used to be in Solidity that whenever you create the constructor function or the function that gets run whenever you put the smart contract on the blockchain, it used to have the same name as the smart contract. That's how you used to create the function. But now that's changed. And we say, we don't even use the function keyword. We use the constructor keyword like this. Say constructor. All right, public. And let's try to compile it and see if it goes away. All right, so that goes away. So the next thing is people ask me about this a lot too. So it's complaining about this. So we have to say memory here, string memory name to denote that that's not a storage value. So let's compile again. All right, so now we have another issue here. This is how events are emitted in Solidity. So, Ethereum and Solidity allow you to emit events that external consumers can subscribe to. So in the case of voting, here's the voted event, all right? And here's the event defined here. And this is how you used to call the events. You used to just, do the function, call the event like this without any kind of special keyword. But now you have to say this, emit voted event, and then pass in the candidate ID just like that. So let's see if that works. Compile it. And there we go. We just successfully updated the election smart contract for that tutorial to fit, Solidity version 0.6.0. Okay. So it only required 3 changes. We had to update the constructor. We had to update this argument here to use string memory. And then finally, we had to emit this voted event rather than just calling the event directly. All right. So that's a pretty good overview of the common ways that blockchain development has changed, in the recent past. Okay, so if you're running into these errors inside your application, hope you got some value out of this video. You can take this back and refactor your apps to bring them up to speed for 2020. Maybe you're following one of these older tutorials that has some legacy code in it. That's how you fix it. That's how you update it. That's how you keep up with the changes that have been happening in blockchain. So hope you like this video. Again, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Click the like button down below. And if you want to take that next step to mastering blockchain, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. All right, until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.